Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, irony abounds in this particular debate on the Crimes Match-Fixing Amendment Bill. How ironic that the government bring this bill to the House the very week when John Key is trying to stitch up the general election result with his dodgy deals in Ohio and in Epsom. I want to turn to some definitions in this bill, because for the purposes of this bill, deception includes any act or omission that is done with the intent to influence a betting outcome of an activity of a kind, and which includes any rallies involving human participants. People do gamble on the outcomes of general elections. And John Key, with his dodgy cup of tea deals, is trying to fix the outcome of certain elections. Centrebet take bets on elections. I predict take bets on elections, effectively, and John Key's trying to fix the results with his dodgy deals in Ohio and in Epsom. So what are they doing in Epsom, for example? They're saying to old Paul Goldsmith, or the man the National Party affectionately know as Goldie. He should probably be called Sylvie because he prefers to come second. But they're saying to old Paul Goldsmith, don't campaign at all. They're basically trying to fix the deal in Epsom so that the ACT Party get a free ride into Parliament. The party of independence, the party that basically says that you should have self-reliance, are basically relying on a dodgy deal with National in order to get an MP into Parliament, and a deal that is fixed by John Key. What happens to people who are betting on that outcome? People take bets on outcomes of general elections, and John Key, will he be infringing the law, this law, if he's trying to fix the outcome, if he's trying to influence the outcome in a way that is not transparent, that is dodgy all over, and that is an absolute rort of the MMP electoral system? Where does that leave him? Because he's fixing that particular match in Epsom, just as he's trying to fix the match just up the road from where I live in Ohio, where he's trying to basically ensure that Peter Dunn can get back in. Peter Dunn, the man who has been well established now, leaks sensitive information to journalists, and John Key doesn't seem to have a problem with that. Match fixing, what was that? Match fixing is a serious issue in New Zealand, and it's important that we do something about it, and that's why the Labour Party will be supporting this legislation. It's about fairness. It's about making sure that when people go and participate in sports, that it's genuinely competitive. It's a genuine competition. That's something that we believe in for the sporting community. It's something that we should believe in politics as well, that it should be a genuine competition. It shouldn't be about dodgy deals. It should be actually about getting out there, giving it your best, and actually seeing what happens on the day. It's not about trying to stitch things up in back rooms, which is what the National Party seem to think politics is all about. So how ironic that they're saying they don't want that happening in sports. We don't want that happening in sports. We don't want that happening in politics either, unlike this current national government, who seem to think that general elections are something to be bought and traded, not something to be fairly contested in an election campaign, and where the voters get to say, based on the ideas that they want to have represented in government, the people they want to have represented in government. This government seem to think they can simply jack it up with dodgy deals that are done over cups of tea, and I think New Zealanders have had a guts full of that. They've had a guts full of that, and they have as much contempt for that kind of approach from the national government as they have for match fixing. So I think that this bill is a welcome piece of legislation. It will ensure that New Zealanders can have confidence in the sporting, in fair sports, and I think that that's a very good thing. But I think that we should make sure that the same kind of transparency and fairness that we're wanting to see in sports, and particularly around betting around sports, that should happen around elections as well. It shouldn't be the case that the government can jack up particular election results that suit their interests. It should be the case that it's the voters that get to decide who they want to have representing them in Parliament and who they want to be the government. This government don't seem to have any respect for that whatsoever. So, Mr Speaker, this is very important, this particular piece of legislation, because there have been international threat assessments that warn of increasing risk in New Zealand of match fixing, increasing risk that crime syndicates and individuals are targeting Australasia for sports match fixing. And there have already been high-profile cases in Australia. There have been one or two New Zealand sports people involved in allegations around this too, and we want to make sure that New Zealanders can have confidence that that's not happening. It would significantly damage the credibility and the value and the growth in New Zealand sport, which is already contributing around $5 billion per year to our economy, probably more than that actually. And so we should have confidence in our sporting institutions and the players, and making sure that there's robust legislation in place that makes it clear that match fixing is a crime under the Crimes Act. That's something that the Labour Party absolutely supports. So I'm going to leave my contribution at that, Mr Speaker, and simply say to the government, this is a good piece of legislation in the sporting arena. They should apply the same principle to the way they deal with politics.
I call Alfred Naro.
Mr Speaker, thank you, and it's an honour to take the final call on the Crimes Match Fixing and Amendment Bill in its first reading. Mr Speaker, I do want to say that to the member, Chris Hipkins. Obviously, he probably hasn't had that one-on-one lesson